Hi everyone, this is Faiza Raza uh, from Scholar School System. Today we are going to discuss lecture one for macroeconomics. So this week we have covered macroeconomics lecture one, which was about introduction to macroeconomics. In this lecture we have discussed about the introduction of microeconomics, macroeconomics, and some concepts related to macroeconomics. The session outcomes was we have discussed about economic science and microeconomics. Then we have discussed about supply and demand concepts, the data of macroeconomics and macroeconomics variables we have discussed. So the first question is what is economics? So economics is basically the study of human action in an economic context. Economics is the study of economic exchanges. The three central coordination problems any economy must solve is what and how much to produce, then how to produce it, and for whom to produce it. So it is not just about one product. It's like, say, for example, how much banana should be produced, how much like shoes can be produced, how much clothes can be produced, anything. What should be produced if we are talking about if you are talking about in like micro level. So we can say that at home, what should be what should be say for example in a factory. Okay, like if we are talking about just one industry, just one factory, so we can say that okay, in that factory how much garments we can produce. Okay, so if you're talking about economic levels, so in a country, what should be produced, how if you're talking about FMCG products, or we are talking about the other industrial sectors, different industrial sectors, manufacturing sector or retail sector, or so in total, what should be the production, how much it should be, and then how to produce it, what are the ways to producing it, and then for whom to produce it. So what are your ultimate customers? Okay, so moving forward, talking about micro and macroeconomics. So what is the difference? So in microeconomics, we just study about the individual actions, individual economic decisions and behaviors, and in macroeconomics, we study about the entire economy, how it works, and basically it discusses about inflation, unemployment, gross domestic product, which is GDP, then economic growth and development, and social welfare. So scarcity. So what is scarcity? So before moving forward to the scarcity, I need to discuss like we have discussed about wants, which are the preferences are basically infinite, and what you can say, the preferences are infinite and subjective, and then resources are finite. Finite means like limited. Okay, so scarcity means the goods available are too few to satisfy individual desires. The degree of scarcity is constantly changing. The quantity of goods, services, and usable resources depends on technology and human action. Factors of production: land, labor, and capital goods. So the resources need to be economized, and then economic studies how people use means to achieve their goals. That is how they economize resources to satisfy most of their wants. So next we have discussed costs. So what are costs? We have discussed about trade-offs. So trade-off means like making one choice means that other choices becomes unavailable due to scarcity. Okay, so then opportunity cost. So what is opportunity cost? Basically, these are the benefits of next best alternative to give into a given action. So whatever you, if you are, say for example, if you are achieving something, okay, I've given example in here that the students who are coming in this campus, they are leaving their work for a while, okay, they are leaving their families for a while. So their opportunity cost for studying is the loss of the time, which they can give to the family. Okay, so opportunity cost is like what thing you are leaving, what is you are leaving behind for achieving something else, some alternative. So using economic reasoning, decisions are often made by comparing marginal costs and marginal benefits. Okay, so marginal cost is basically the additional cost over and above costs already incurred. So here I've given example of the property deals. So like in auction, sometimes some people buy properties from auction. So if you buy a property from the auction, from the auction, and that property is completely burned, and it you are buying it in 100,000 pounds. Okay, but on the other hand, a newly built property, you are buying it in, say for example, 150,000. Okay, so but because the property which you have bought was cheap, but it was burned, so you have to spend, say for example, 100 pounds more to refurbish it. Okay, so what would be the ultimate marginal cost you are paying? You are paying for that, like marginal cost, you're paying 100,000 extra. Okay, so for achieving that product, that property. And on the other hand, for newly built property, you're just paying in total 150,000 pounds. So that was the example, like the hidden or the total costs which ultimately you end up spending on something. So this is like basically marginal cost. Then marginal benefit is like vice versa again. So you are like is the additional benefit above what has already accrued. Then the law of demand states that the quantity of a good demanded is inversely related to the goods price. So in other words, other things equal. So all of the other things should remain constant. Then as price as prices change, people change how much they are willing to buy. Then quantity demanded rises as prices falls, and quantity demanded falls as prices rises. So the law of demand is based on the fact that when prices for a good rise, people substitute away from that good to other goods. So then law of supply. So what is the law of supply? It states that the quantity of a good supplied is directly related to the goods price. So in other words, if the quantity supplied rises, as prices rises, if the quantity supplied falls, the price will fall as well. Okay, so the law of supply occurs because when price rise, firms substitute production of one good for another, assuming firms' costs are constant, a higher price means higher profit. So, what is market equilibrium? So, market equilibrium is a condition where the demand and supply remains equal. So, if there is and on the other hand, if there is an excess supply, it is called as a surplus. Quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. Then if there is an excess demand, it should be a shortage. Quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. So price adjust, what should be the price adjust is like mm, well, price adjust and tend to rise when there is excess demand and fall when there is excess supply to reach an equilibrium. So this is basically the graph of market equilibrium. As you can see here, the demand and supply, where it intersects, where these two lines intersects each other. This is basically the equilibrium point. So division of labor can be defined as purposeful specialization in production according to efficiency, which applies to land and capital goods as well as to labor. Division of labor stems from the diversity and inequality of human beings and of nature, and it is more productive than human effort in isolation. And specialization does not automatically guarantee increased productivity. It must be complemented by exchange, that is free trade, accomplished according to market signals. Then we have discussed about the roles of government. What is the role of government in economies? So, government plays two roles basically: an actor who collects money in taxes, and a referee who sets the rules that determine relations between businesses and households. So, these roles include responsibilities such as providing a stable set of institutions and rules, and then promoting effective and workable competition, then correcting for externalities, and then ensuring economic stability and growth, providing public goods, and adjusting for undesirable market results. So, what is the what is the role of economic institutions? Economic institutions are like laws, common practices, and organizations in a society that affect the economy. Economic institutions differ significantly among nations, and this affect economic pressures. Social pressures also offset economic pressures, um, and prevent unemployment individuals from accepting work at lower wages than currently employed workers receive. So existing firms conspire to limit new competition by lobbying governments to pass restrictive regulations, and by devising pricing strategies to scare of new entrants. So, renters often organize to pressure local governments to set caps on the rental price of apartments. So, this is basically the graph showing how economic institutions work. So, basically, government is like, you can say, an intermediary in between households and businesses. So, goods are like from households, goods like it's a two-way process. Basically, businesses sell the goods to the households, and households sells the goods to the like businesses during the during the production processes. So there are two kinds of markets are there, like one goods market and then other is factor market. So um, there are like the households has international connections, and businesses also have international connections. So there is basically, you can say, international like this graph is showing all of the economic institutions processes, you can say. Talking about aggregate demand and supply, so equilibrium output is the level of output towards which the economy gravitates in the short run, because of the cumulative cycles of declining or increasing production. Potential output is the highest output of amount of output an economy can sustainably produce using existing production processes and resources. Then growth is an increase in potential output, while productivity is output per unit of input. According to John Maynard Keynes, short-run equilibrium output may differ from long-run potential output, assuming a fixed price level, and it's for the government to fix it. So economic policies are actions or inaction taken by the government to influence economic actions. And objectives of economic policies are basically policy analysis, keep value judgments separate from the analysis. Subjective is like policy analysis reflects the analyst's views of how things should be. And then we have discussed about three economic systems. There are like planned economies, which is socialism, then free market economies, and then mixed economies, which is capitalism and interventionism. So in socialism, basically, governments are all in all. They do they control the decisions of the households, and then in free markets economies, households are free to produce to and like how much they can produce, it's their own individual decisions, or it's their own industrial decisions. Then mixed economies are those economies in which there is some intervention from by the government, and some decisions the industrialists or households can make by themselves. So, guess the economic system. These class activities we have done, three of the class activities were there. Then we have discussed about macroeconomic variables. So, macroeconomic variables are basically like gross domestic product, which is the most important variable. of the measurement of economic activity, then unemployment rate, inflation rate, balance of payments, interest rates, fiscal policy, and monetary policy. So these are basically the four are basically you can say the top four: GDP, unemployment rate, inflation rate, and balance of payments are the most you can say most important macroeconomic variables, and the rest of the three, which are interest rates, fiscal policies, and monetary policies, are basically the adjustments or the measures taken by the governments to stabilize these four factors. So how we can measure GDP? So GDP is basically can be measured measured by the consumption, steel consumption, like total consumption of the economy plus total government spendings plus total investment, like gross investment of the economy, and then net exports, which means like exports minus imports. So that was it for one lecture. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Bye bye.